Welcome back to Folktales, where ancient wisdom meets modern storytelling. In a small Nigerian compound where laughter echoed through every evening and arguments dissolved into comedy by dawn, lived a couple whose love was as fiery as the pepper that would soon change their lives forever. But when playful words pierce deeper than intended, sometimes the only lesson that sticks burns. Odinaka and On had always been that couple everyone admired in their neighborhood. Not because they were perfect, but because they were loud, playful, dramatic, and never hid their quarrels. People never quite understood how their marriage worked, because they quarreled like Tom and Jerry in the morning and laughed like comedians at night. On was an outspoken and dramatic woman who could make a whole room laugh with one sentence, while Odinaka was the calm and easygoing one who never took anything too seriously. He loved to make jokes even about things that should not be joked with. That Saturday evening, as the golden sun dipped behind their compound walls, they sat enjoying their dinner of pounded yam and garden egg sauce. As usual, On had put so much pepper into the sauce as if she was trying to chase demons out of her husband's body. Odinaka was sweating and fanning his mouth with his palm, complaining dramatically. "On, why are you like this? Do you want to burn my tongue? You put all the pepper in Nigeria inside this food." On only laughed and replied, "Eat it like that, my husband. Pepper clears the system. It will clear your body from all the evil spirits that follow you when you go out with those your friends." The evening breeze carried their banter across the compound, where neighbors smiled knowingly at the familiar sound of their playful arguments. After their meal, they went to relax on the sofa in the living room. The television was showing a Nollywood film where the wife was shouting at her husband for sleeping with a housemaid. On, who was half watching and half scrolling through her phone, shook her head at the screen. "See this woman? She's just crying. If it were me, that man will not walk again for 1 month." Odinaka was leaning back on the sofa with one hand behind his head, picking his teeth with a broomstick and grinning the way men do when they're about to say something mischievous. He loved moments like this. Peaceful, funny, and light. And as always, his mouth itched to make a silly joke. He cleared his throat and asked casually, "On, if I even cheat, what will you do?" At first, On froze with her eyes still fixed on her phone screen. Then slowly she turned to look at him, her eyebrows raised high. "What did you just say?" Odinaka laughed and threw his head back. "I said if I even cheat, what you go do. I am just asking. Not that I want to cheat." On dropped her phone and folded her arms across her chest. Her face was dead serious now. "So it is in your heart to cheat? Because out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. You don't just open your mouth and say this kind of thing if you are not thinking about it." The temperature in the room seemed to drop as the playful atmosphere transformed into something more dangerous. Odinaka waved his hand to dismiss the suspicion. "Calm down, it was only a joke. Must you turn everything into Bible class? I was only testing you now, to know how much you love me." On sat up straighter and pointed her finger at him. "Testing me? You think I am an experiment? Oh, you think you are some sugar boy? You know my blood is hot, Odinaka. Don't try me. If you cheat, I will do something that people will use to write storybooks." Odinaka laughed harder and stretched his legs like a satisfied king. "See this woman? I know you now. You can't do anything. The worst you will do is shout, break 1 or 2 plates, and cry small. After that, you will still cook for me." On's eyes widened in disbelief. "Oh, is that what you think of me? That I am an ordinary woman who will just cry and continue? Odinaka, don't test my patience. I will show you fire." Odinaka laughed louder, almost choking on his own saliva. I beg. Don't come and be threatening me this night. Same movie way you day watch, you are now acting it in my house. Look at you quoting scriptures like Bishop. On me cheat? I love you too much, Jara. I was only playing." But On wasn't smiling anymore. She leaned back, pressed her lips together, and said calmly, "You will see now. You think it is a joke, Abby? But one day you will know I don't play with such things. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. All the ones you just say now, I heard you. You asked, and you will see." The seriousness in her tone made him pause for a second, but then he shook his head and waved it away, standing up to stretch. "This woman and her wahala. I was only joking. Tomorrow you will still laugh about it." From that night onward, On could not look at Odinaka the same way again. Every time he picked up his phone and tilted the screen away, she would narrow her eyes like a hawk watching its prey. Every time he laughed at a message and refused to show her, she would hiss loudly and shake her head. He thought she had forgotten his "if I cheat" joke, but in her heart, she had built a whole skyscraper on it and was decorating each floor with different suspicions. The compound that once echoed with their easy laughter now carried undertones of tension that their neighbors began to notice. One Monday evening, he came back from work whistling happily, his shirt slightly unbuttoned from the Lagos heat. On looked at him from head to toe and asked, "Why are you smiling like a goat that just ate yam? Who greeted you on the road?" Odinaka burst into laughter. "So I should not smile again? If I frown, you will ask who annoyed me. If I smile, you will ask who greeted me. On, choose one. On hissed and folded her arms. Just be smiling. One day I will follow you and find out what is making you smile like Moo. The truth was that Odinaka was innocent. His only crime was being playful and optimistic by nature. But On's imagination was already running a marathon, fueled by Nollywood movies and neighborhood gossip about unfaithful husbands. On Tuesday night, she noticed him spraying perfume before going to buy bread at the junction. That one alone set her blood boiling like palm oil in a hot pot. She went into the room and shouted dramatically, "Odinaka! You are only going to buy bread, yet you are spraying perfume. Who is selling the bread? Is she single?" Odinaka laughed so hard that he almost fell. On, please don't kill me with laughter. Can't I smell nice for my wife again? On eyed him suspiciously, her hands on her waist in the classic African wife stance. Smell nice for me? Is it in the bread seller's shop that you will hug me? Oh, I know, men. If you like, spray the whole bottle. Just know that Pepper is waiting for you. Odinaka froze and blinked at her. Pepper? Which Pepper again? On smiled sweetly and patted his cheek. Don't worry, you'll soon know. That single statement unsettled him, but he quickly waved it off, thinking it was one of her usual dramatic threats. Unknown to him, On meant every single word. In her mind, she was already crafting a plan that would make him remember her name for the rest of his natural life. The neighborhood women had taught her that prevention was better than cure, and she was about to apply that wisdom in the most creative way possible. By Wednesday, On's suspicion had reached PhD level. Every ring of Odinaka's phone became a source of investigation. His ringtone, which was a simple gospel song, began to sound like a secret code to her ears. If it rang twice in 1 hour, she would shout from the bedroom, "Odinaka! Who is calling you like mosquito? Better put that phone on speaker." "Let me hear." Odinaka laughed until tears came to his eyes. On, are you now the new MTN? Why must you hear my calls? Because MTN doesn't know the way you joke about cheating, she retorted, her voice sharp as a razor blade. That night she lay beside him, staring at the ceiling and not sleeping. The ceiling fan creaked rhythmically above them while Odinaka snored peacefully, completely unaware of the storm brewing in his wife's mind. She was thinking of the movie they watched that night when the husband in the film had a side chick, and the wife found out too late. God forbid, she muttered to herself. Me, side chick, will not snatch my husband. So she began to mentally list possible punishments just in case it ever got to that point. Slap? No, it's too ordinary. Pour hot water? Nope, it's too dangerous. Pepper. Yes! Pepper is safe but unforgettable. She smiled to herself in the darkness, and just then Odinaka turned to face her, still half asleep. On, why are you smiling like a cat that just saw fish? He asked drowsily. On turned her back quickly. Nothing. Just sleep or you'll soon know. By Thursday, On had already made up her mind. Odinaka would not forget his careless joke in a hurry. She was in the kitchen that morning, grinding pepper for stew, when the idea fully landed like divine revelation. As she watched the red, fiery pepper swirling inside the grinding machine, she smiled to herself and whispered, "Yes, this is the answer. He wants to play smart? I will play smart pass. Let him cheat in his dreams." The morning sun streamed through the kitchen window, illuminating the pepper like precious rubies, and On felt like she was holding the key to marital justice. However, On was not the type to act immediately. She liked drama with a sprinkle of patience, like a hunter waiting for the right moment to strike. So she bided her time, watching Odinaka move around the house with his usual playful character. That morning, he was in the sitting room fixing his belt, humming a tune and admiring himself in the mirror that hung by the door. She stood at the kitchen doorway with her arms folded, just watching him with the intensity of a scientist observing a specimen. Odinaka turned and grinned. On, why are you staring at me like that? Nothing, On replied quickly, hiding her smile. I'm just looking at my husband that thinks he's a fine boy. If you like, keep admiring yourself. Fine boy today, roasted boy tomorrow. Odinaka burst into laughter and shook his head. This woman will not kill me. Which one is roasted boy again? On ignored him and went back to her pepper, her plan crystallizing with each passing moment. That night after dinner, On carefully took a small portion of the ground pepper paste, spread it on a saucer, and left it on the kitchen counter like a sacred offering. The red mixture gleamed under the fluorescent light, looking innocent enough but carrying the power to teach unforgettable lessons. She waited until Odinaka fell asleep, snoring with his mouth open like a content baby, before tiptoeing to the laundry basket. The compound was quiet except for the distant sound of generators humming and night traders calling out their wares. She searched through his clothes until she found his favorite pair of boxers, the navy blue one, with little white stripes. She smiled wickedly. Yes, this one. He likes wearing it whenever he wants to feel fresh and young. Today, he will feel fire. With the precision of a traditional medicine woman preparing herbs, she rubbed the pepper mixture gently into the inner seams of the boxer, pressing it in with her fingers. Her heart skipped. What if she used too much? What if he screamed so loud that the neighbors would come running? But then she thought of his words again. If I cheat, and her determination doubled. However, On was not a wicked woman. She did not want to harm him permanently, so she spread the pepper thinly, muttering, just enough to remind him that On is not to be tested. If Pepper enters here, then his ancestors will wake him up. She rinsed her hands quickly, tiptoed back to the basket, and arranged the boxers on top so that it would be the first one he picked in his morning rush. The next morning, Odinaka woke up earlier than usual, whistling happily as he prepared to go meet his friend at the mechanic's workshop. The morning sun painted golden stripes across their bedroom floor, and the compound was already alive with the sounds of morning preparations. Children getting ready for school, women lighting their cooking fires, and men heading out for work. He opened his drawer, picked the navy blue striped boxer, and wore it without the slightest suspicion. On, who was lying on the bed, kept her face turned to the wall but kept peeping at him with the corner of her eyes, her heart beating like a talking drum. On, he said casually as he buttoned his shirt. Do you want me to buy plantain when coming back? Yes, buy plantain for me, she replied sweetly, still peeping. And don't forget groundnut too. You will need plenty groundnut today. Odinaka frowned. Groundnut, why? On waved her hand dismissively. I don't know, just bite it. He shrugged and continued dressing, completely oblivious to the trap that had been set. On pulled the pillow closer to her face and bit her lip to stop the laughter threatening to burst out. The pepper was waiting. The stage was set, and Odinaka was about to dance a dance he had never danced before in his life. At first, everything seemed normal. Odinaka strutted around the room, admired himself in his boxers, and even winked at On, saying, See as I fresh. On, are you sure you don't want me to cancel today's outing and stay home with you? Look at this fresh boy now. On ignored him while secretly counting down in her mind like a bomb about to explode. He slipped into his trousers, tucked in his shirt, and bent to wear his socks. That was when it started, first like a small tingling sensation. He frowned and adjusted himself. Maybe the boxers are too tight, he thought, pulling at the waistband. However, by the time he finished tying his shoelaces, the tingling had turned into a hot sting that felt like tiny fire ants marching across his skin. He stood up quickly and began scratching frantically. On, did you wash these boxers with Omo and leave soap inside? Why are they itching me like this? On sat up on the bed and kept her face straight, holding back laughter so hard that her cheeks hurt. Maybe you are just hot, Odinaka. You complain too much. Everything is always itching you. Odinaka nodded and grabbed his wristwatch. But before he could strap it on, the sensation had become a full-blown fire. Odinaka froze with his eyes wide like a man who had just seen a ghost. Then suddenly he jumped up and began shaking his legs like a possessed man. Ah, Jesus, On. Something is biting me, he screamed, tearing at his trousers while hopping around the room like he was performing a traditional war dance. On frowned, pretending to be shocked, and asked, Oi, what is wrong now? You are dancing as if it is praise and worship Sunday. Odinaka was now hopping around the room as if he was dancing zanku, scratching at his trousers furiously. On, my waist is burning. Fire is inside my boxers. On, I am dying. On stood up and asked in her most innocent voice, Burning? How can it be burning now? Did you light a stove inside your trousers? Odinaka was already halfway out of his trousers by now, rolling on the floor and screaming like a man fighting invisible demons. I swear, On. Water! Water! Bring water before I run mad. On covered her mouth, secretly shaking with laughter. But Odinaka, you just said you're a fresh boy. Why are you rolling on the ground like roasted corn? Odinaka was now almost naked. He dashed into the bathroom, turned on the tap, and started pouring water down his boxers like a man performing emergency baptism. But the cold water only made the pepper sting spread more. He screamed louder. Ah! It is worse. On! I will die! What did you put inside my boxers? At that point, On couldn't hold it anymore. She collapsed on the bed, laughing so hard that tears rolled down her face. Odinaka, you wanted to know what I would do if you cheat, Anne? That is the trailer. If you ever try it in real life, the full movie will kill you. The neighbors, who were already alerted by his screaming, were knocking at the door asking, Odinaka, are you okay? Is it armed robbers? Should we call a pastor? Hours later, Odinaka sat on the sitting room floor with his legs spread out, his trousers hanging half off his waist, his shirt unbuttoned, and his eyes red like someone who had fought with pepper soup and lost. He was breathing heavily and pointing an accusing finger at On, who was calmly sitting on the couch like a queen holding court. On! He cried, dragging her name like a choir master holding a long note. What did I do to you? What crime did I commit in this marriage that you put pepper inside my boxers? On leaned her chin on her palm, smiling with the satisfaction of a job well done. You want to know your crime? I only followed scripture. The Bible says out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Didn't you say if I cheat? Now I only prepared the consequence in advance. Before he could respond, their neighbor Mama Chi knocked on the door with two other women, all dressed and ready for battle. Odinaka! What is happening? We heard you shouting. Is it armed robbers? Odinaka, who was thoroughly embarrassed, quickly pulled his trousers up and shouted back, No robbers! No robbers! It's just a small pepper accident. Pepper accident? Mama Chi echoed in confusion. Since when did you start playing with pepper? That night, as they lay in bed, Odinaka turned to On and said seriously, Promise me something. If I ever do anything stupid in the future, correct me with your mouth, not pepper. Pepper is too strong. My body is still burning as I'm lying down. On kissed his cheek gently. Fine, I promise. But you too. Promise me that you will never make light of cheating again. Odinaka nodded quickly like a schoolboy taking an oath. I promise. In fact, if any of my friends ever mention side chick, I will slap them before their words finish. I have seen fire and brimstone today, and I don't want to see it again. From that day forward, whenever Odinaka's friends tried to make jokes about unfaithfulness, he would slam his hand on the table and shout, God forbid! Do you want Pepper to kill me? And though On had proven her point with fire, she too learned that love without trust could burn both ways. They both discovered that in marriage, words have power, jokes have consequences, and sometimes the hottest pepper isn't in the soup. It's in the lesson that teaches you never to play with your partner's heart. If you enjoyed the story, then like, subscribe, and share this story with your loved ones. Also, tell us in the comments where you are watching from.